The day they moved him in, Robert Ellison didn't fight. He didn't raise his voice. He simply signed the last page of the transfer documents with the same steady hand that had once built an empire from a single dusty hardware store in Elmwood, Ohio. "Everything's yours now, kids," he told Mike and Laura, forcing that familiar half-smile he'd worn for 47 years. "Go make it bigger than I ever could." Mike, 48 and already wearing the new Rolex like it had always belonged on his wrist, clapped his father on the shoulder. "You earned this rest, Pop. Sunny Acres is nice. Real nice." Laura kissed the air beside his cheek, already scrolling her phone for the closing time on the escrow papers. "We'll visit every Sunday, promise." The car doors slammed, gravel crunched, and just like that, the man who had worked 16-hour days so his children would never know hunger was left standing on the cracked sidewalk of a low-budget nursing home with nothing but a battered suitcase, a framed photo of his late wife Mary, and the clothes on his back. No one saw the single tear that slipped down his weathered cheek as the taillights disappeared around the corner. No one but the wind. For 6 weeks, Robert became a ghost in room 12 of Sunny Acres. The place smelled of boiled cabbage and pine sol. His roommate, old Mr. Kowalski, snored like a chainsaw and never spoke. Robert ate his meals in silence at the end of the long table, nodding politely when the staff asked how he was. "Fine," he always said, "just fine." But every afternoon at 3:17 p.m., the exact minute the old store used to close, he sat by the window in the day room, staring toward the highway like he could still see the neon sign that once read Ellison's Tool and Supply in proud block letters. 8 stores across 3 counties, 200 employees, college funds, weddings, hospital bills, all of it paid for with calluses and coffee, and the quiet promise he'd made to Mary on her deathbed 21 years earlier, "I'll take care of them, sweetheart, no matter what." He never complained, not when the nights got long, not when the grandkids' birthdays came and went without a card, not even when the arthritis in his hands made it hard to hold the photo of Mary anymore. Until Jessica Morales started her shift. Jess was 27. Ponytail always slightly crooked, scrubs 2 sizes too big because the home couldn't afford new ones. She was the kind of nurse who remembered your coffee order and the name of your dog that died in 1998. On her 3rd night, she caught Robert trying to hide the fact that his hands were shaking too hard to open his Jell-O cup. "Here, Mr. Ellison," she said softly, peeling the foil for him. "I got you." He looked up, surprised anyone had noticed. "Call me Bob," he said. His voice was gravel and honey. From then on, Jess made time. 10 minutes here, 20 there. She'd sit on the edge of his bed during her break and listen while he talked about the time he and Mary drove all night in a snowstorm to deliver a generator to a young family whose power had gone out on Christmas Eve. How he'd taught Mike to swing a hammer before the boy could ride a bike. How Laura used to ride on his shoulders through the aisles, pretending she was the store manager. "You raised good kids," Jess told him one rainy Thursday. Bob stared at the rain streaking the window. "I raised them to be better than me," he said quietly. "Guess I succeeded too well. They don't need me anymore." The loneliness in his voice cracked something in her chest. She started bringing him extra pudding cups. She smuggled in a small American flag from the dollar store so he could have it on his nightstand next to Mary's picture. She listened like the stories mattered, because to her, they did. Her own father had walked out when she was 9. She knew what it felt like to be left in a room with nothing but echoes. Then came the phone call that shattered everything. It was a Tuesday in late October. Jess was changing Bob's IV fluids when his cell, kept on the charger like a shrine, rang with Mike's name. Bob answered on speaker by mistake. "Dad, what the hell did you do? The books are a nightmare. The last 3 stores are leveraged to the eyeballs. We're hemorrhaging money. Laura's already talking about filing Chapter 11. You hid this from us?" Bob closed his eyes. I didn't hide it, son. I carried it. You carried it? For how long? 8 years, Bob said simply. After the recession, after the big box stores moved in, I was putting my own retirement money in every quarter just to keep the lights on. Didn't want you two to worry. Figured once I signed it over, you'd have a clean slate, fresh eyes, maybe turn it around. A long silence. Then Laura's voice cut in. She was on the line too. We sold the Elmwood flagship last week, Dad. Cash. We needed it. The lake house had to be paid off. Bob's shoulders folded inward like someone had punched him in the heart. The flagship, he whispered. The store where Mary had painted the front window by hand in 1983, where Mike took his first steps between the nail bins, where Laura used to ride on his shoulders through the aisles, pretending she was the store manager. Jess felt her own hands start to shake. She stepped out into the hallway, but she didn't go far. That night, after lights out, Bob told her the rest. I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, he said, voice steady but eyes wet. Stage 4. Doctors gave me months. I could have told the kids, could have let them watch me waste away and drain every dime fighting it. Instead, I signed everything over, paid off the last of the medical bills quietly, told myself they'd get the business free and clear. No funeral costs, no burden. I wanted to disappear clean, let them remember me as the strong one. Jess sat frozen on the plastic chair beside his bed. Bob, you're in remission? He gave a small, sad laugh. Was, for a little while. It's back. Docs say 6 weeks, maybe 8. I didn't want them to know. Didn't want pity visits. The final twist came 3 days later. Mike and Laura showed up unannounced, faces tight with panic. The buyer of the flagship store had backed out after discovering the hidden liens Bob had been juggling for years. The entire empire was collapsing. They needed cash. His cash. We know you kept something back, Dad. You always were the saver. Just tell us where it is. Bob looked at his children for a long moment, the same eyes that had once looked up at him like he hung the moon. Then he reached under his pillow and pulled out a single sealed envelope. Inside is a flash drive, he said. His voice didn't shake anymore. I recorded this the night before I signed the papers. Watch it when you're ready. They left without hugging him. That night, Bob's breathing grew shallow. Jess stayed past her shift, holding his hand the way she wished someone had held her father's hand. At 2:14 a.m., he opened his eyes one last time. Jess, he whispered, the words barely more than breath, you were the daughter I got to keep. He was gone before the sun came up. 2 weeks later, Mike and Laura sat alone in the empty day room of Sunny Acres, the flash drive plugged into a borrowed laptop. The room smelled faintly of the same boiled cabbage and pine sol. Jess stood quietly in the doorway, unsure if she belonged there, yet unable to walk away. The video began. Bob looked straight into the camera, wearing the same half-smile they had seen their whole lives, but his eyes were tired, deep lines carved by decades of love and sacrifice. Mike, Laura, if you're watching this, I'm already gone, and that's okay. I built that business with these hands so you would never have to struggle the way I did. But somewhere along the way, I forgot to teach you the most important part. Family isn't the reward waiting at the end of the work. Family is the work. I carried the debt for 8 years because I loved you too much to let you fail. Turns out that was my greatest mistake. Love shouldn't be a secret weight you carry alone. There's no hidden bank account, no safety net. I gave you everything I had left. The rest, I left to the only person who sat with me when the nights got quiet and the room felt too big. He paused, swallowing hard, his voice cracking for the first time. Jess, sweetheart, if you're watching too, thank you. The money from my final pension and the little life insurance policy your mother and I kept secret all these years, it's yours. Use it to finish nursing school, buy those scrubs that actually fit, or open that coffee shop you dreamed about. But more than that, promise me you'll keep doing what you did for me. See the people no one else sees. Love the ones the world has already forgotten. Bob leaned closer to the camera, tears now openly streaming his weathered face. And to my children, I forgive you. I was never angry, just so damn tired. Come sit by my grave sometime. Bring the grandkids. Tell them your grandpa loved them enough to let them go, even when it broke what was left of my heart. Because in the end, the only thing that ever mattered wasn't the stores, the money, or the name on the sign. It was the chance to be your dad for one more day, one more Sunday visit, one more I love you. I would have given every last store, every last dollar, every last breath, just to hear you say it back while I could still hear it. The screen went black. Silence swallowed the room. Then Mike collapsed forward, forehead pressed to the table, sobbing like the little boy who once ran to his father with a scraped knee. Laura wrapped her arms around her brother, her own tears falling hot and fast, the kind that come when you realize too late what you've lost forever. Jess turned to leave them to their grief, but Laura looked up, eyes red and shattered. "Jess," her voice broke, "he loved you like a daughter, and we weren't even there." She stood, crossed the room, and pulled the young nurse into a trembling embrace, the first real hug any of them had shared in years. Mike joined them, all three holding each other in the middle of that sterile day room while the snow began to fall softly outside. In that moment, something fragile and precious was born from the ashes of what had been broken. A family finally learning, far too late, what Bob Ellison had tried to teach them all along. That love isn't measured in stores or bank accounts. It's measured in the quiet afternoons, the extra pudding cups, the hand held through the long night, and the simple, devastating truth that sometimes the greatest thing a father can leave behind is the pain of realizing how much he was worth, only after he's gone. Somewhere beyond the falling snow, in a quiet corner of eternity, Bob Ellison finally rested, a small American flag fluttering gently beside Mary's photo. He had built his legacy after all, not in steel and concrete, but in the hearts that would carry him forever, aching, changed, and at last awake.